Hi everyone, welcome to InvestNow's weekly readout. My name is Gina Pappano and I'm the Executive Director of InvestNow. This commentary is based on an op-ed I wrote for the Financial Post. Since my last readout, a mass exodus from the UN-sponsored and Mark Carney-led Net Zero Banking Alliance has occurred. The NZBA's goal is to accelerate the transition to decarbonization and a net zero global economy. What does a net zero global economy mean? It means drastically reducing oil and gas production and use. The good news is that 6 of the biggest US banks have all announced they're leaving, and now Canada's big 5 banks, BMO, CIBC, RBC, Scotiabank, and TD, have followed suit. How ironic is it that in the week that Mark Carney announced his run for Liberal Party leader, his most cherished project has collapsed? The bad news is that both the American and Canadian banks have stressed that leaving NZBA won't affect their net zero commitments or their determination to help achieve a net zero global economy. They are still committed to aligning their lending, underwriting, and investing practices with decarbonization and net zero goals, even though they have officially left the international group that required them to do so. Why have these banks fled the Net Zero Alliance en masse then? In the US, it is likely because the new Trump administration has signaled an interest in investigating ESG lending and investing practices as potentially being a fraud against shareholders and the economy. If this wasn't reason enough, the US banks have also been accused of collusion by the Republican-led House Judiciary Committee on the grounds that their net zero policies, including divestment from oil, gas, and coal, have contributed to the big rise in energy prices since 2020. The committee found substantial evidence that a climate cartel of financial institutions had engaged in anti-competitive collusion by demanding that companies disclose, reduce, and enforce their net zero climate commitments. The first line of the committee's report spells it all out. In U.S. antitrust law, competition is always favored over collusion. The largest money managers, however powerful they may be, cannot collude. This is especially true when their conspiracy shrinks the production of the affordable energy products relied upon by millions of Americans. The Judiciary Committee says membership in the NZBA and other climate coalitions is the gateway that enables banks to collude in pressuring American businesses to commit to net zero and scale down disfavored production, which in this case is oil and gas production. Canadian banks should take what is happening in the US as a warning. Maintaining their singular focus on decarbonization to achieve net zero leaves them open to charges of collusion too. The real-world effect of their favored policy is to eliminate oil and gas, one of Canada's most productive and prosperity-creating sectors. Its elimination would be bad for bank shareholders and customers, industry in general, the economy, and our entire country. They're continuing down this ideological path, which runs contrary to the interest of shareholders and the public alike, could prompt further investigation. InvestNow applauds the banks in both countries for exiting the net zero alliances and sees it as a first step towards moving past the madness of net zero by 2050. But the fact that they remain committed to decarbonization, to net zero, and to the effective end of our oil and gas sector demonstrates that our work is not done. Our banks need to ditch ideology and get back to serving the people of Canada and their best interests. Thanks for listening, and tune in next week to hear my thoughts on our latest story of the week. If you like this content, please subscribe to InvestNow's channel and visit our webpage, linked in the description below, to pass our resolution and sign up to receive InvestNow's Story of the Week. Thank you very much.